So this car almost killed me. Hello and welcome to How to Helen, where you learn something different every day. Today we will be replacing an ABS pump brake line on a 2002 Toyota MR2. While driving on the highway, my brake line sprung a leak and I lost brakes on the highway. Now luckily I know how to use the e-brake or emergency brake. It's the handbrake that you pull that allows you to stop the car even without pressing the brakes.
Wow!
And it's actually the second time I almost died this 2020, the pandemic year. So I'm lucky, happy, and grateful that I'm still alive. And if you're watching this, good job to you too. So anyway, going back to the task at hand, let me show you the ABS pump brake lines. This is the ABS pump, and these are the ABS pump brake lines. And this one at the bottom is the one that sprung a leak. As you can see, it is corroded from the inside. Now, from what I understand, my brake fluid was old and there was a bit of contamination. That contamination possibly had sharp particles in them that was eating away the brake lines from the inside. So this is the brake line that we have to replace. So before taking out the lines, remove the brake fluid from the brake fluid reservoir. Open the cap, take off the filter, and use a turkey baster to drain it out. Now before I change the brake lines, I have to recommend to everyone to once in a while change your brake fluid. I had to call every eBay vendor who sells ABS pumps for the MR2 just to ask if they still have the brake lines. These brake lines are very hard to find. Most of them just cut the brake lines because no one really asked for them. So if you're unfortunate like me, it will be really impossible to find one. So change your brake fluids. The brake lines are held down by a 10mm screw flange. But the problem with this is when you put your wrench on it and try to remove it, there is no space to turn the wrench. As you can see, it is hitting the other brake lines. The solution that I'm hoping that would work for this is I bought a 10mm crowfoot wrench. The wrench would hold on to the screw, and then I will put a socket extension so that it will raise the wrench above the brake line, and I will be able to turn, and I can remove the screw flange and unscrew it. So let's see if this works. In addition, I bought this freeze-off spray. Mechanics usually use a heat torch to break loose any rusted and stuck screws. But because this holds liquid inside the tubes, I do not want it to burst into flames. So I am going the opposite route. The freeze-off spray will shock the metal into a lower temperature to break off the rust and loosen the screws. We will know in a while if this works as it claims. So now I'm gonna spray with a freeze-off spray, then give it a minute or so, then try to take it off.
6 hours later.
Oh my god, it did work. Oh my goodness, it worked. After successfully removing the brake lines on the ABS pump, start tracing the brake line so you can figure out where the other end goes to. And it goes to one of the lines that's next to the body of the car. The other end of the brake line goes to this connector by the body of the car. I already removed it, so now let's remove the whole broken brake line. Just be careful not to damage anything else. Yay! Here is a close-up of the broken portion of the brake line. Since I have two newer lines, I decided to replace the other line as well. Tighten the new brake line snugly and be careful not to over-tighten them. When you are done, wipe off all the brake fluid that came out of the brake line. Brake fluid is very corrosive and it might eat through your metal. Add new brake fluid to the brake fluid reservoir. And if you feel some sponginess in your brakes, you will need to bleed out your brake lines. I will make a different video if I need to bleed the brakes on this car. So that is how you replace an ABS pump brake lines on a 2002 Toyota MR2. Now as a reminder again, once in a while change your brake fluid because brake fluid are susceptible to contamination and moisture, and once it happens, then it corrodes the inside of the brake lines, and just like me, it might puncture a hole on your brake line. This has been another episode of How to Helen. My name's Arja. Thank you for watching.